Hey, welcome back to Green Country Custom Baits. I'm Jeff. Today's video is going to be a DIY on vacuum forming stencils. Now, I've done a previous video on this before when we matched the Lure Jensen speed crawl pattern from their particular bait. Today we're going to be doing one from Lucky Craft and a little bit different style of scallops as far as the crawl plates go. So stick around after the intro. We'll show you all the parts and how we're going to get to starting our vacuum forming. On today's DIY vacuum form stencils, we're really not going to get into all the components needed for vacuum forming. We've done that in a previous video, so I'll leave a card up above and a link in the description below to that video. If you haven't seen that, it would be good, especially if you're a beginner, to go back and watch that, and I'll show the processes of actually how we take our tin can and put our holes in it and form it to our vacuum and put our plastic into a frame and all that. But after this, what we're going to do is we're going to take this BDS4 Lucky Craft square bill crankbait, and my good buddy down in East Texas, he's got showed me at one time a favorite color pattern that he really liked, and we're going to replicate that for him. We've got a guide trip set up in mid-June, and I'm going to kind of surprise him with those. Those colors have been discontinued, or this particular color has been discontinued by Lucky Craft. So I'm going to bring you a couple of those, and so thought I'd shoot us a little video while we're doing this. So before you forget, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We're trying to grow our channel and provide some educational content for the viewers out there, and by all means leave comments. The more interaction we get on the channel, I think the more that we're going to grow. I'm just kind of getting into the YouTube deal myself, so learning as we go, but I sure appreciate that if you would do that, and we'll try to keep putting out good content for you each and every week. So we'll be right back. Okay, so here's our color pattern we're going to replicate, the discontinued Lucky Craft BDS4 Big Daddy Strike square bill, right? Okay, and we're going to work to get, these scallops put in on the sides, the little markings on the top. They may or may not do that. We could just do that with a brush, but anyway, next up we're going to show you how we're going to replicate this pattern. Okay, so next up we're just going to use a fine tip Sharpie marker, and again we're going to lay in some of these crawl markings on the sides, and we're wanting a pretty crisp line all along this back edge. Okay, and then we'll cut this opening out a little wider so that we can get some overspray just in this area right there, just kind of feather it out and then do it. But anyway, so from that first marking, we know that right in here is about where that starts, and then we'll just, I don't know if my lighting is going to be great, and drawing this, trying to keep it on camera might be a challenge, but we're just going to take that down and back and roll it up onto the sides. And again, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be trying to cut out and leave this line and open this up just a little bit on the inside so that we can get some overspray. Okay, and then each one of these markings just rolls into the next. What you can't see on this particular bait is the crawl legs start at the back of each one of these, so we can kind of also make us a little line right there. Now, we could cut that out, but most generally I can just come back and I'll just paint those in there. Okay, so the main thing we're going to try to do is get those scallops on there. So there's side one. Thick Sharpie, just going to put bigger lines on. Really doesn't matter. Just depends on how well you do your cutting. Okay, so you can see the results. Two different Sharpies, basically the same thing. This one shows up a little better, but next up we're gonna cut it out. And when cutting these, a good sharp X-Acto knife is a great method. Hoping I'm getting this on camera. Get my seeing eye glasses on here. And again, I usually try to push the blade away from me when I can. Sometimes I can't. This is fairly thick plastic, so you may, the first time you go down it, just score it. And it makes it a little easier to get through. I think I could probably have a little bit sharper blade. We want to try to get good consistent cuts and not have a lot of edges there. So just turning the blade as you go up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start it right here. Go to my line. Then I'm going to work it back and across. Okay. And so we got a fairly good crisp line. We can straighten up about anything we want there. Got to have a little more of that cut out so that we got something to spray through. Same thing up here at the top. Okay, next method we use the Dremel tool. Okay, so you can see that does a fairly good job, quite a bit quicker. Then you just kind of go back with your X-Acto knife and any uniformities. The key to the Dremel tool is keeping it going in a straight line, and that's takes a little bit of practice, but nothing that the X-Acto knife can't straighten out, or in fact the Dremel tool itself. So I'm not that happy with this last one. Seems like I have a little more trouble with these smaller ones toward the back, but with that particular blade, it's getting a little bit long. But again, all we're looking for is running our airbrush right down that line at the back and letting it overspray. We can even cut, you know, more of this out because we're going to get some overspray. I'm not so worried about the inside being straight as you are the back side that your line's going to go down. So, but you got to be able to spray pretty fine lines and have pretty good control over your airbrush in doing this method. But again, show two different methods of how we want to get our crawl pattern done in this one. Next video, you'll see me paint this bait with these particular stencils. So a little bit of cleanup. And again, if you go back and watch that other video on both of them, I would use a little bit of this 400 grit sandpaper, especially on the one we used with the Dremel tool. Knock off any rough edges, especially on the inside of the bait. And again, all of that information is going to be in that first video. You can see I do a lot of these, and there's a lot of different patterns you can be. You can be very creative and kind of design your own crawl pattern that you want and mold it to your particular bait. It'll save you quite a bit of money. You know, if you go out and buy some of those stencils that I showed in the stencil product video that I shot here a few months ago, some of those preformed, and they're great. You know, if you don't want to put the time and the work into it and you got a little extra money, just go buy the stencils that you want. And a lot of those companies will make them for a little extra fee to whatever stencil you want to put in there. So again, until next time. Okay, so we got our Dremel cut. Went back and done both of them with Dremels. Really took my time. For the most part, got everything cleaned out. And if you've got a bait that's got the pattern on it and you make a vacuum mold of it, instead of drawing it, you can trace out the outline and get it, you know, quite a bit closer to the original pattern, as you can see here. So went ahead and made a few, the leg cuts, even the little indentions above will go back in this particular area. If you've got the actual bait, you get a lot closer to the representation of how that original bait was done. Makes it any better in the light, but again, a lot cleaner. Took 400 grit sandpaper, smoothed both surfaces, run the finger down it, pretty close. So now when I stick my bait in, once it's clear coated, we're going to get a very good pattern. So these two baits, again, to follow up, were done with the previous ones. One was cut with X-Acto and one was cut with a Dremel tool. Again, not bad. The one thing that I didn't really care about on this one, if you look at them side by side, is just slightly, ever so slightly, this pattern, the Craw Stencil, was a little bit higher up on the bait than on this one. Okay, so you can see a little bit opposite here. This one's higher than this one. So these here will come out extremely good. Again, going to just spray at the bottom of each one of these. let the overspray fill in, add a little contour, or add a little texture to it, and we'll be good to go. So just want to give you a little update on that. You can tell you're going to go through some of these little bits. I get them at Harbor Freight. Went through 3 different ones, extremely slow, and even when you do that, you know, they're going to break. Some of these are extremely fine, but you can get really fine detail. You just got to have a lot of them, and they're fairly inexpensive. So again, just a little update.